ladies, this is Mocha Mommy here bringing you another video, and I'll apologize for the noise in the background because just outside getting a walk, getting some fresh air, getting some exercise in. So anyway, I get some questions and I get feedback about why don't I debate the manosphere, right? I provide a lot of receipts about a lot of things that are being said. They feel like I could probably hold my own in a lot of the arguments. Why don't I participate in these panel discussions or put the names of certain content creators in my titles that can improve me in the algorithm? Because that would definitely facilitate me becoming a more widely used, monetized platform. And I see your point, but it is not something that I am interested in doing for a few reasons. One, for like academic reasons, and two, for, I'll say, spiritual reasons. Okay? The two reasons why. So let's go with the first reason. Oh, hey, KK. That's my neighbor's dog. Okay. So, first reason. It's going to be like academic. So, yes, I'm in healthcare, and one of the things that I'm very proud of is the fact that part of my career, I was able to do clinical data management, okay? That's kind of when you track patients and research studies. If any cases that you saw could be a part of any kind of clinical research studies, track patient progress through different healthcare systems, insurance information, and how things get documented. So that's nothing I chose, but something that my obligation to the United States Army kind of imposed on me. They did pay for that certification, and as a result, I do have to maintain it should I want to keep those credentials, okay? So right now in the area of clinical data management and research, we're really seeing a lot of genome and genetic mapping particularly for cancer, oncology research, developmental, and as well as congenital diseases. Developmental meaning things like autism. Congenital meaning things like heart disease, cystic fibrosis, things like that could possibly happen when children are born, okay? Right now, one of the biggest obstacles in the progression of research when it comes to the African American community is that we have so many Black children who have unsigned birth certificates in the Black community that it is very difficult for us as a medical community to track illness, whether it be developmental or congenital or oncology cancer-wise, through paternal DNA. Okay, now you guys know I hate celebrity gossip, but a primary example would be Iggy Azalea and Playboy Cardi, right? How that child's birth certificate remains unsigned. Okay, that does not make Playboy Cardi a childless Black man just because he did not sign his child's birth certificate. So this whole thing where they're talking about the number of childless Black men and how all of these women are having babies by the same Pookies and Ray Rays, no, that's not true. Because if you can prove that, if you can actually have the research documentation to prove that, the New England Journal of Medicine would like that access to that information so they can publish it. The National Academy of Pediatrics would like that information so they can publish it. You guys, I'll put receipts in the description box. I always do, because I totally believe in giving you guys access to information and education so that you guys can be edified, okay? Another thing, that how I know this whole 80% of Black women are pregnant by 20% of Black men. Okay, another thing I would like to say is what they do is they subtract the 25% of Black men who are married from the entire population of Black men. As if married Black men don't make outside babies. Okay? as if married black men don't make outside babies. And we all know that that's not true. Amari Stoudemire has millions on it. Okay? Dr. Dre's soon-to-be ex-wife, Nicole Young, has millions on it. Okay? Like I told you, the new divorce is not going to be in community property. It's going to be a non-disclosure. All right? This is kind of why she's asking for what she's asking for, is to be quiet about it. Okay? That's what it's going to be. So, again, I'll provide evidence of that in the description box so you guys can see what it is I'm saying. And you can pick up what it is I'm laying down. All right? Also, you can just look at my ex-brother-in-law. My sister's ex-husband, right? This guy, Alpha Phi Alpha fraternity, Air Force Academy graduate, ended up becoming a really powerful government contractor. He actually went to Hampton. He was in grad school there, where he met my sister. I mean, worked for big engineering companies like Sun Technologies and Oracle. Just really well-educated, made an outside baby on my sister with some hood chick. That's just another thing, too. Like, they keep talking about how black women are always dealing with all these Pookie and Ray Rays. I've never dealt with that. Me or my sister have ever dealt with it. And most of the women I know who grew up middle class don't deal with these Pookie and Ray Rays like that. But we still see this baby daddy phenomenon. You know who most baby daddies I know are Alpha Phi Alphas and Omega Psi Phis, and they're not no hood dudes. It is not uncommon to see these guys nowadays when we go to these alumni events that they will have 3 families. They'll have the college sweetheart or the old girlfriend jump-off chick that they got pregnant back in the 90s. They'll have the ex-wife they had from the early 2000s and those children, and then the kids now. Their kids now, with their new families now. They'll have 3 whole families. So yeah, they're 6-figure earners, but that money's already spoken for, honey. They have 3 families, and that's not uncommon to see among the black middle class. I don't know too many Pookies and Ray Rays, but for those of you who had suggested that I look in and review Married at First Sight, I haven't watched all the episodes, and I'll be honest, I probably won't. I know a lot of Chris's. Chris's are in my family. I have more experience with Chris than I ever did with Pookie and Ray Ray. And a lot of black women can testify to that. Gainfully employed black men who were raised in the church with value systems and still act like that. Still are baby daddies. Okay? And a lot of these guys who are out here making these accusations are in fact baby daddies. These quote-unquote educated lames are a huge population of baby daddies. They're baby daddies too. So that's why I don't really give a lot of merit to their arguments. Okay? This whole thing, I think reality TV has kind of brought that to kind of light. You know, this season of Married at First Sight, when they talked about, hey, some of these black men do not want to be with black women. Hey, thank you for putting that out there. I've been saying that. These educated lames, sometimes they're just as dangerous. Keeping it 100% real. All right? Keeping it 100% real. So, and some of them who have these 3 families, it's because their dad had 3 families. And they might have been the first one or the third one or the second one. They're from that. And they'll keep perpetuating that well into the middle class. So don't believe that mess. Okay? This happens in the middle class too. So please stop thinking that. And this whole thing with the animosity against the Pookie and Ray Ray, and the whole thing with the rejection. Let me kind of put it in context for you, especially when it comes to educated lames, because these are the ones who are causing most of the problems in the manosphere, right? These quote-unquote educated lames. Okay, now, when hip-hop culture first started emerging, right, those of us, I told you guys in my Pickin' on Pick Misha video, right? Here you are with your press and curl, you're doing your first cotillion, you're wearing white gloves, and you're learning how to walk and set tables and learn about place settings. And the number one song on the radio was Around the Way Girl with LL Cool J, right? That they wanted a girl with extensions in her hair and bamboo earrings and Fendi bags and bad attitudes. So you don't fit that stereotype. So therefore, you don't have a lot of currency. You're boring. And when all of this part of the hip-hop culture started emerging about sexual prowess, and then they talk about all the rejection that they received, well, here's the reality of why we were, quote-unquote, rejecting them. It's because we had things to lose. Like me, a lot of my classmates from high school had dads and moms who were working 2 jobs to put us through private school. We had something to lose. I remember being on my track team. Part of the girls who were on the relay with me, the 4x8 relay, some of these girls were being looked at and had letters of intent to some really great athletic programs. It was a Catholic high school, so a bunch of Catholic colleges like Fordham and Seton Hall were looking at these girls to be runners. So they had a lot to lose, which is why they were not going to walk around being boy crazy. You know, and not to mention, you didn't have that kind of time. You were training. You were studying for SATs. You were doing Kaplan courses. You were taking classes at community college at night to make college more affordable for your family. You were in AP biology. You didn't have that kind of time. You also had a support system. You had self-esteem. You had a dad who had rules. And you had an extended family who had rules and who were involved with you in your life. It wasn't just my dad. I had uncles. So it was really, so those boys really just were being rejected, not necessarily because we didn't like them or we didn't want to date them. We just had rules that we had to follow, and we had things to lose. So then they would try that whole thing with the hood girls. And the hood girls, they have a different value system. They have different cultural standards. They have different, you know, so those quote unquote educated lanes didn't have currency with those type of girls. They didn't really care how good your grades were or how, you know what I mean? Or what your family's last name was, or they didn't care about that. They had a whole different value system. And they were working on something that they just didn't have currency in that community. So they were being rejected on both sides. And that's where that bitterness really comes from. It comes from that rejection because you want to adhere to this hip hop culture, and you really can't with the hood girls, and you also can't with the good girls. Because it's just the reality of where it is you grew up. And this whole bitterness kind of against Pookie and Ray Ray, talking about how these black women get with Pookie and Ray Ray, it really is a lot of projection because they really wanted to be accepted by hood culture. They really wanted to be acclimated into hood culture. They really wanted to be a part and perpetuate hood culture, even when they were not hood. Okay? There's a huge difference between Woodbridge and Queensbridge. Woodbridge, Queens is where the Arthur Ashe Stadium is, where they play the U.S. Open. Queensbridge is where Nas is from. But somehow, these guys would kind of put a little bop in their walk and drag their heel. They would want to wear Jordans and talk slang and try to perpetuate this hood stereotype in these very middle-class areas, trying to be cool and try to get acceptance. And we knew good and well, like, dude, your mama worked for the bank. Your mom helped my dad refinance his mortgage. You're not hard. You know what I mean? Your dad works for Charles Schwab. You're not no hood dude. Right? But yet they can really pull that kind of hood dude popular thing with some of the non-black girls who didn't know that these guys had parents who worked for Deloitte and Touche who were actuaries. You know what I mean? They can pull that with them, but not with us because we knew. So, I mean, and again, they're still running that hustle. I mean, think about it. Snoop Dogg, Calvin Brodus, his stepfather, that's right, because his mother was a single mom. His stepfather, okay, was black church royalty out there in Long Beach. So Snoop was not this whole pimp, hood, weed smoking please, that's very much a fabricated image. Snoop was raised in the church. Brothers' families are black church royalty. Jay-Z, yes, raised in the Marcy Projects, but people recognize his intelligence and talent very early on. He was in a magnet school. A magnet school that was a direct feeder into Columbia and NYU. So this whole hood dude culture thing is something that they're perpetuating to you. That's not the reality of who it is they are. Offset of Migos. His mom's a Delta, and his stepdad, that's right, another parent of another son of a single mom. His stepfather's an A5A and a business owner. Okay, so this is not, this hood culture, this is just something that they're selling. This whole, education don't mean nothing. Well, why do they have some of the best and most elite educations that there is to have? If education don't mean nothing. If church don't mean nothing, right? Why do they have access to it? I remember when the Reverend Calvin Butts kind of started rolling over, steamrolling a bunch of hip-hop CDs, and Snoop was kind of speaking against it. A lot of it had to do with church people were like, hey, he's one of ours. He's one of ours. Don't be so hard on him. He's one of ours. Tupac and that whole thing with C. Dolores Tucker. Tupac, Amir Questlove from The Roots, another one I'm trying to think of. They went to performing arts high schools that had pretty intensive application processes. Dave Chappelle, that's another one. That they had application processes and that were pretty exclusive. So these dudes may have been from the hood, but they definitely had access. Okay? So I'm just kind of letting you guys know and putting this in context for you because these are people that are my age. And a lot of you guys are a lot younger and you might have not have been there or remembered it or know to look these type of things up, right? So I'm just saying that as someone older trying to give information to you guys who are younger. This is a real Kansas City shuffle that's being run on them, but they don't really realize what's happening. Even that dude from the Black Love channel who came from me, right, and my channel, he can talk about education and he puts his air quotes up and all this stuff like that, but the reality is Kaja Bali got a whole master's degree, and I guarantee you, his daughter's probably going to have a 529 or a Coverdale education fund because he very much believes in investing. But he's telling you that education is not worth it, right? And I can guarantee you he doesn't talk like that or dress like that when he goes to his job. This man's a military veteran with a master's degree. He probably isn't very much demand where he is. He's probably just perpetuating this to you. Just hotep stuff to you. Well, he's living comfortable. And he's selling you something else. Okay? And also for spiritual reasons, okay? Spiritual reasons why I won't debate the manosphere. John chapter 4, all right? This is a story that you guys are pretty familiar with. When Jesus is teaching the people, and the Pharisees bring him the woman that's caught in adultery. All right, this is probably a pretty familiar story to you guys. All right, so this is going to be an analogy, not a sermon, okay? Because I'm not trying to impose my religious beliefs on you, okay? So this is going to be an analogy, not a sermon. Okay, so Jesus is out here teaching people, and he's gaining influence. So the Pharisees and the Sadducees of the time are gatekeepers of the quote-unquote truth. These are people who know the quote-unquote truth and the law of Moses. They're the experts on it, right? So they know the quote-unquote truth. And even with their quote-unquote truth, they can get very, very out of pocket and disrespectful when they speak to Jesus, don't they? Very disrespectful and out of pocket. Now, you see, black women, when we preach the truth, if we have a finger waving, a neck circulating and bobbing, and our tone and our volume goes unchecked, trust me, our truth does not get heard, now does it? Our truth does not get hurt, no matter how true it is. Oh, it's not what you say, it's the way you say it. It's your attitude, Black woman. So no matter how true what it is I'm saying, my tone and my demeanor means a lot. But somehow they can be around telling us the truth, being degrading, debasing, disrespectful, and disingenuous. Oh, you can't handle the truth. The truth's got nothing to do with it. Everything is about your tone and intent. Okay? Now, when the woman who was caught in adultery is brought before Jesus, two things were going to happen. The Pharisees. Okay? One, they intended to stone the woman caught in adultery. They intended to stone her. Okay, so her humanity did not matter. Her mistakes did not matter. They did not see her as somebody who was worthy of mercy, of grace, of forgiveness, of a second chance, or of another opportunity to be better and to do better. They did not see her as worthy. And their intent was to either stone her and then to crucify Jesus. It really did not matter how many of the masses that he taught, how many of the sick that he healed, how many of the dead that he raised, how many of the hungry that he fed. The bottom line was the Pharisees and the Sadducees never believed in him. So it doesn't matter how perfect you are, they still don't believe in you. And it doesn't matter how human it is that you are, they still do think that you are not worthy. They don't believe in your divinity, and they don't feel your human side is worthy. So it really is no point in debating them, because the quote-unquote truth that they're going to use is only to protect their position and not to progress the message of that truth. You're going to find that, and that's why Jesus had said, let him who has not sinned cast the first stone. Let the first person cast a stone. Because this is what you're going to find, ladies. All of these guys who are really indignant about Instagram thought culture, if you were to take their personal cell phones or their personal device, you're going to find that there's probably thousands of watch hours of porn. You're going to find that these guys who talk about how women are unworthy of having dates paid for or of marriage probably are paying hundreds of dollars a month in OnlyFans. You're going to find that. It's the hypocrisy that leads to that projection of wanting you to be stoned for the thing that they are very guilty of themselves. You're going to find that 9 times out of 10. 9 times out of 10. Guarantee you. Call them out on their porn when you start hearing of them talk about Instagram thought false culture. Yeah, but so when they talk to you about some Instagram thought culture, yeah, but how many hours do you have on Pornhub? You're going to get silence. Because that's why I don't bother to debate them, because I know who they already is. It's an evil brood of vipers, right? They know the truth, but it is not in them. Because you have to live it as much as you spew it, right? As much as you talk about it, you gotta live it. And I talked to you guys about that too with the Kansas City Shuffle video. You gotta live it. Don't matter what you say. And coming from anonymous-ish content creator, I get it. You shouldn't believe me either. But that's a recipe for getting doxxed. Debating the manosphere is a recipe for getting doxxed. And I really don't need that. Okay? Already, with less than 800 subscribers, I'm getting trolls. So, I'm just not about to subject my family to that, my career to that, for the sake of this YouTube channel. So, my job is not them. My job is not to convert them. Okay? My job is to help to encourage and edify you, right? When we talked about Titus chapter 2, older women teaching younger women, and I'm seeing it by my analytics, a lot of you guys are young. A lot of you guys could literally be my children by the age that I'm seeing here. Those of you who write me, and those of you who comment, and those of you who are showing up in my analytics, you guys are young. You guys literally can be my children. You are my responsibility Debating and proving them wrong is not. Okay? They have to deal with that, and they have to be held accountable for what it is that they do. So there are content creators who are kind of going after them. Thank goodness for people like The Honest Truth. Thank goodness for the poor black man. So of course, I'll give them a like, I'll give them a share, I'll give them a subscribe. Eddie Adheem being another one, right? So I'll give them a thumbs up, I'll share their videos, I'll donate to their super chats. But that's really their responsibility. It's not mine. It's their responsibility to kind of go after the manosphere and bring the receipts. And so far they have been. So that's their job, not mine. You are my job. My subscribers are my job. So that's one of the reasons why you're not going to really see me over there. If they have a platform and they're controlling the platform and I contribute, it has to be that man and him serving as moderator and him kind of, keeping the integrity of his platform to make sure that disrespectful language doesn't get exchanged at the rate that it usually does when it's not a platform that's black female friendly. So that's kind of why that's as far as I would go. Also, my morning routine is really important to me. So I'm not going to really stay up that late. That's why you're not really going to see me on a lot of these black male-centered platforms, because they have to be held accountable for what it is that they do. And that's not my job. Okay? You're my job. You're my responsibility. Your growth and your change. Okay? Now, on the positive side, the Pharisees and the Sadducees played a really important role in the ministry of Jesus, okay? It let the woman who was caught in adultery know that mercy and grace is out there, and you can change the trajectory of your life. And then it let Jesus know that, I can't stay in the same place. It's not safe for me. It's important for me to be out there. It's important for me to spread my message in other places. It's important for me to go elsewhere. It's important for me to just be... Yeah, it's just supposed to... That's my neighbor. But it's important for you to kind of be out there changing the narrative of what's being spewed. So it's really up to you to kind of get out there and just spread the message of kindness and spread the message of love and spread the message of redemption. Because yes, they're out here to crucify you. But understand that there is a much bigger glory in the resurrection. And that because even with the quote unquote unbelievers and even with those who are judgmental, it's still worth it to be your very best you for you. This is Mocha Mommy, and I'll see you in the next video.